The Buddha once taught that a person who knows contentment can feel joy even while lying on the dry earth. In contrast, those who do not know what is enough, even if they possessed all of heaven, would still harbor dissatisfaction. This simple philosophy is the only key that helps us see through the illusions of life to recognize what our true assets really are. Centuries ago, there was a poor woodcutter named Hui Neng. He was illiterate. Every day, his only task was to go into the forest to chop wood and exchange it at the market for a few bowls of rice to feed his elderly mother. His life was the epitome of material deprivation. Yet, even before he became the sixth patriarch of Zen Buddhism, his mind was already a still lake. Even after achieving ultimate enlightenment, he was in no hurry to seek a high position or the praises of the world. He chose to live in seclusion for many years, mingling with rough hunters. He took on the lowliest of jobs, pounding rice for hire every day. He was constantly surrounded by noise, by hunters filled with bloodlust and greed. Yet, Hui Neng remained calm, simply doing his work. He never uttered a word of complaint. He had no urge to prove himself. Not a single trace of irritation ever appeared in his eyes. He did not have a penny in his pocket. Yet, anyone who stepped into his presence felt a strange sense of relief. A peaceful energy, radiating from the depths of his being, silently soothed the tensions of everyone around him. This image stands in stark contrast to the pain felt by many in modern society. People today spend nearly all their life forced chasing money, but very few stop to ask a much more dangerous question. Why is it that for some, the more money they make, the more insecure their lives become? Why are their vast mansions filled with the most expensive luxuries, yet the atmosphere inside is always stifling and heavy? Why is it that as soon as some people begin to grow wealthy, their families start to fracture, their health declines, and the relationships that seemed the most solid begin to crack? We often hold a deep-seated belief that money will solve all suffering. But eventually, we silently realize that money only solves the deprivation of the external world. As for the holes within the soul, no amount of money can patch them up. There are people who wake up every morning with their bodies and minds exhausted, despite having massive bank accounts. There are those who sit and eat in the finest restaurants, but cannot swallow a single bite of peace. Conversely, there are those who live in tiny houses and eat very simple meals. Yet when you enter their homes, you feel an extraordinary lightness of heart. This does not depend on the amount of money they own. It depends on something invisible, yet it possesses the power to govern one's entire life. This is merit, or spiritual blessings. Unfortunately, most people only notice money when it is gone. But their merit has often been eroding for a long time without them even knowing it. Merit is the primary root of the tree of life. A person can be poor in money for a few years and still find a way to stand back up. But if their merit begins to run dry, strange signs will immediately appear in their lives. Nothing they do goes smoothly. Money earned through one door will leave through another. Loved ones begin to turn their backs. Their minds are constantly in a state of agitation and anxiety. They never fall into a deep sleep at night. Everywhere they go, they encounter things that go against their wishes. And the most frightening part is that the person still firmly believes they are just short on money. They continue to rush out into the world, using every means possible to scrape together more profit, while the thing that is truly leaking and depleting is deep within their inner self. Many people today look at a wealthy person and immediately default to seeing them as a model of success. But sometimes, what we see with the naked eye is only the surface of a chain of karma in motion. Some people grow wealthy because their merit is profound. Others grow wealthy because they are burning through the very last fragile remnants of their life merit. From the outside, these two types of wealth look very similar, but the outcomes lead in two completely different directions. One person lives with increasing peace, and money becomes a tool for them to spread warmth. The other lives with increasing insecurity, and money becomes a wall, imprisoning them in suspicion and defensiveness. Money can cover up material poverty, but it can never hide the karmic consequences manifesting day by day. It shows in one's complexion, in one's words, and in the way they turn their back on others when there is no longer a profit to be made. The most dangerous thing about the power of money is not that it makes people bad instantly. It does so with extreme subtlety. It happens so slowly, in fact, that people remain under the illusion that they are still in control. At first, it is just a bit more irritability. The ability to be patient with elderly parents decreases a little. Time spent with children diminishes a little. Then, gradually, the sense of contentment evaporates from the mind without notice. A person who once felt happy with a humble meal now finds no joy, even when tasting delicacies. A person who once slept soundly on a hard bed now tosses and turns all night on the most expensive mattress. Modern society is suffering from a very difficult disease to cure: the poverty of peace. People fear being poor in money more than they fear losing their tranquility. They cherish and nurture their bank accounts more than they nurture their own souls. They check their phones the moment they open their eyes, but they might go a whole month without taking a minute to check how exhausted their own hearts have become. And then one day, even if their assets have multiplied many times over, they still feel empty. A desolate void remains that cannot be explained by logic, because what they truly lack has never been material goods. What they crave from deep within is the merit required to keep their hearts capable of vibrating with simple joys. Many still mistake merit for a vague concept. It is not. Merit is a very real form of energy generated from every small action each day. A gentle word that eases someone's feelings of self-pity is merit. Choosing to restrain one's anger to keep a household peaceful is merit. Deciding not to touch a benefit that does not belong to you is merit. Conversely, every time a person acts out of selfishness, stepping on others to win, their merit silently departs without warning. No one sees that loss today, but their life will slowly begin to change color. There are those who always complain, wondering why they work so hard, but cannot keep their assets. The problem does not lie in their money-making skills. It lies in the fact that their minds are not stable enough to hold on to merit. And when there is no merit, one cannot keep money. Whatever intention money accompanies, it will nourish that intention. If a person earns money through anxiety, the wealthier they get, the more anxious they will be. If they earn money through bottomless greed, the more they have, the more they will live in fear of being robbed. The most heartbreaking thing is that there are people willing to trade their entire store of merit just for a fleeting sense of pride and superiority. They accept years of insomnia. They trade away their health. They neglect their families. They discard kindness, all just to mold a shell of success for the world to admire. But when the body begins to protest, when the sleepless nights stretch on, they realize with bitterness that what they need most is not the admiration of the crowd. What they crave is a quiet mind, which they threw away long ago. In this world, there is a terrifying kind of poverty, the poverty of contentment. A person who is poor in money but knows contentment can still find reasons to smile. But a person who does not know what is enough, even if standing on a mountain of gold, will still feel miserable. Their mind is like a bottomless pit. No matter how many of the world's resources you pour in, it will never be full. Comparison is the poison that feeds that pit every day. Comparing houses, comparing vehicles, and comparing social status. It reaches the point where they completely forget the feeling of peace that comes from chewing a mouthful of rice slowly. Money, in and of itself, carries neither goodness nor evil. It is merely a tool. Merit is the foundation. A house built on weak ground will only collapse more easily as it is built higher. A person without inner stability will only invite disaster the more money they hold. Some people, the moment they touch money, see their families split apart. Others earn money only to have illness ravage their bodies. Then there are those who live very gently, without aggressive competition, yet everywhere they go, people reach out to help. In moments of dire hardship, a path always opens to protect them. This is not random luck. This is the law of cause and effect, operating with absolute precision, based on each person's foundation of merit. Money is extremely sensitive to human energy. It is the same amount of money, but when it falls into the hands of someone with a kind heart, it turns into a tool to care for family, support the elderly, protect children, and make life a little less dark. But when it falls into the hands of someone carrying the energy of greed, that money becomes a weapon used for boasting and creating more bitterness. When people scrape together wealth by disregarding morality and hurting others, they are essentially withdrawing their own life force to exchange for short-term gain. The exchange happens quickly, but when it is time to pay it back, life demands a cruel price. Some lose their health. Some lose the child they love most. Most terrible of all is losing the peace of the soul, something that, once shattered, no amount of wealth can buy back. There is a form of merit erosion that modern people suffer from frequently, always living in a state of needing to be better than others. Many people no longer work for actual living needs. They work just so they will not fall behind their friends, to be recognized by society, and to not be looked down upon when they walk down the street. When money is tightly bound to the desire to win, the human mind will never have a single day of peace. They see rivals everywhere. They feel uneasy when they see others succeed. They feel insecure about themselves when they see others happy. This toxic psychological state leaks merit every minute and every second. This depletion makes no loud noise. It is as subtle as the way a person starts to get annoyed when their elderly parents speak slowly or wander in their thoughts. It is as subtle as the way they look down on manual laborers. It is as subtle as the way they prioritize personal gain over family bonds. At first, these are just tiny changes in attitude, but over time, their hearts will completely wither away. To stop this leaking process, we do not need to throw away our current lives or reject money. We simply need to change how our minds react to the world. This can be practiced immediately, in the most ordinary moments. When you wake up, instead of reaching for your phone to see how others are living, lie still for a few breaths and be grateful that you have another day to live. When you return home after a tiring day of work, leave your frustrations outside the door. Step into the house with a smile, however small. When sitting down to eat with your family, put down your electronic devices. Look into the eyes of your loved ones and listen to them with full attention. When faced with a large profit that requires harming others, have the courage to step back. It is these small acts of patience and letting go that patch the holes in our souls, keeping our merit from slipping away. A person with merit is not someone who has never experienced storms or poverty. They are someone who, after all the injurious collisions of life, still maintains a soft heart. They still know how to feel sorrow when they see others cry. They still feel regret if they accidentally utter a harsh word. They carry no pressure to prove their greatness to anyone, so everyone around them feels they can breathe easily. They still work hard. They still provide for life. But inside them, there is an absolute quiet space that allows no greed to invade. At the final moment of a life cycle, when this physical body runs out of energy, no one remembers the numbers in a bank account. The only thing left in the mind is either regret or peace regarding how we treated those around us. Did we hurt anyone too deeply? Did we miss out on family meals that should have been warm? Did we lose ourselves just for a bit of fake applause? Money only truly has meaning when your inner self is vast enough to contain it without losing your kindness. If for a few pieces of inanimate paper, you have to trade away endless nights of insomnia, the distant gaze of your children, and the coldness within your own home, is that price worth it? When night falls, when all the noisy sounds of the outside world are silenced, and you are left alone to face the darkness, can you hear the peaceful breathing of your own soul?